Oh.
Hello. Hi. Oh gosh, my boobies are everywhere. Nice. Hi, baby girl. She's gotten so big. I can still remember you sitting in that chair that first time and those cheeks. Hi, Becca.
I still got my cheeks.
Yeah, yeah, you do. Becca, how's the sleeping with your boy going?
Better. We keep his door open, so that seems to help.
I meant to tell you this. He's how old? Almost 4, right? Or 3 to
Three and a
4.
half, yeah. He'll be
Okay.
4 in August.
So one of the things we did was we did like a challenge. Like if you don't get out of bed for 3 nights, we'll reward you with blah. Now this only works with a kid who is reward motivated. Some of mine aren't, like Satara, not at all. But we did that with Grayson at 4 to 5. Um, and we put it on top of the refrigerator. He had to stay in his room for, I want to say it was 5 nights without coming to my door. And he got this like cheap drone. He couldn't fly to save his life, but that was his reward. He wanted one really bad.
Yeah, he's like going through that scared phase. So I've just been leaving his door open, which I don't necessarily love, but it works for now.
Yeah, I mean, fear is real.
Hmm. I
And
was
like,
definitely like scared of a lot as a child.
yeah, I remember being like, I still, if like Steve and Lainey watch a horror movie and I catch parts of it, I literally will try to walk to the bathroom, but I get in my head and have to like hurry and jump in the bed.
Yeah. No, I do that too. I'm like that with like Law and Order and like
Yeah.
Criminal Minds and like that stuff. I'm like, someone's in my house. Someone's gonna come in my house.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys, I know Susan was on the hangout this morning, but I had, and I know Colette saw my stories, but I don't know if you saw my stories about what happened to us, not last night, but the night before. And I'm a little jumpy, and Grayson is literally every time we got out of the car holding my shirt, but we basically witnessed what I think was a sex trafficking or child trafficking experience. And we heard she could have been preteen to middle adult, but she wasn't, it didn't sound like a grown woman, but she was screaming. We were at a gas station, middle of nowhere. It was a suburban. She was screaming bloody murder, like, help me, somebody help me, help me, help me. And he calmly got out of the front seat, grabbed something out, which looked like a syringe, had it in his mouth, like how you go pop off, like when you're giving medicines or something, and then leaned in, was cool as a cucumber. It was terrifying. We waited till the police got there. Thank God they did, because I was prepared to at least follow them to see if they went north or south, but that was like as far out as I was. I didn't want to be like him to see us, but he was so preoccupied with her. It was terrifying.
What
So
happened when the police got there?
I left because I was like, I've watched too much Law and Order and all that stuff. And I was like, they're going to get out guns blazing or something. And I was sitting at the gas pump, like they were over here, but the police like kind of surrounded their suburban. But what was really interesting is that at first I was like, I'm not hearing what I think. Like I was doubting myself. And then Grayson goes, Mommy, do you hear that? And I was like, yeah, what do you hear? And he goes, someone's saying, help me. And so I was like, okay. So I took a picture because I still was like nervous about calling the police and looking like an idiot. And then I was like, well, screw it. I don't care. Like it was an Indiana plate. We were in Georgia. There, like Florida's right there. Florida's one of the top sex trafficking states. And I was like, I'm not taking a chance. I'll look like a fool. I don't care. And the more I thought about it, like all of us have been in those bad parenting moments. Like Steve and I were talking about Grayson we did a drive-through COVID test, and you would have thought he was kidnapped. Like, he was screaming for help, telling us we were mean, don't touch me. But we were super uncomfortable, like sweating and nervous and scared, like looking around, like, are people hearing this? This guy did not care. Like, he was not a nervous parent. I don't know what was actually happening. And we've tried, I haven't searched today. We tried that. It was like 11 at night. I tried all night that night because I could not sleep. I was petrified. Yeah. It was scary. And the weird thing too is that there was other people coming in and out of the store, like older people and like just like kind of rough people. Nobody, like, I could see they heard it because they were looking over there at times, but nobody was like attempting to do a thing. I was just like, okay, I don't care. I told the lady, I kept being like super apologetic because I was really nervous. I'm like, I promise I'm not a crazy person. I don't know what I'm seeing, but whatever I'm seeing is not normal. And I just wasn't willing to take a chance. But I have no idea what happened. Anyway, I'm super excited about talking tonight, especially like with you, Becca, doing master classes. I saw your post like from a couple days ago. You've gotten a lot of registrants. So this is like good timing. We're going to talk about
Well, the last time I did it, I had 500 registrants.
how many people came.
Not a lot, and I'm kind of glad not a lot came because a bunch of stuff happened in my personal life that I probably should have just canceled the course, period. And then my son came down in the middle of it, and I was solo parenting that night. And yeah, so it was not great.
But you
So
know what?
redo.
Those are learning experiences, and I'll be real, like I've had I think Laura's in, well, I don't know if I posted in Labor Nurse Mama Slack, but I've had a tough week. And I told Steve yesterday, I was like, I'm quitting. I'm going back to nursing. I don't have to think. I don't have to plan. I don't have to worry. I don't have to like pivot and do content. I'm done with it. It's so much work. And he was like, why don't you sleep on that? And my mindset was just shit, like shit. And he reminded me, like today, he goes, babe, you did a launch with full blown COVID. I know you guys have heard me, like, I was on death's door. I've never been so sick in my life. And he had to do my hair and roll me on an office chair into my office to teach. Thank God. And same for you, Becca. Like, the content I'm teaching is my expertise. So I could teach it in my sleep. I feel like if it were the coaching and digital product and like a master class for that, it wouldn't be as easily to flow from me as birth because I could do it in my sleep, you know. But I've been sending out to my team, like, pray for me, you guys. Like, I need intervention, like I need intercession, I need whatever you got, because I swear every time I launch, I get attacked in some like form or fashion, you know? Um, so that again is why you need to have those systems, have your script, and then there's like a good dose of acting, to be honest. Like it is. Sales is a form of acting. So we're going to talk tonight about your signature story because that should be what is infused in when you write your emails, when you go live, when you do your master classes, the beginning of your course. It's your why. And the funny thing is I tell my birth class students, you guys know, like I say the same thing, especially to my unmedicated moms. If your why is because someone else is telling you you should go unmedicated and that's what our family does, that's a terrible why. Your why has to come, you know, from inside of you. But I'm going to teach you guys some key things tonight because I paid some big bucks for a new course called Self from Stage Academy by Colin Boyd, who is like an expert in this arena. And I feel like I am pretty good at doing master classes, but I want to up my conversion. I want to get better, you know? And there are some key things that he talked about when it comes to your story and telling stories in your presentation. And one of them, I'm gonna kind of tell you guys some different things, but one of them is just to start telling your story. So I have a slide that says, but first, let me tell you my story. That's leaving. So what he says is you just flow into it. So let's say, you know, I was telling Colette this, sorry, let me turn this down. At the beginning of my presentation, and I'm gonna go, like, I'm gonna show you guys what I'm planning for next week. So at the beginning of my presentation, at the beginning, and I've taught you guys this, you're gonna welcome them and invite them into some sort of participation in the chat. This is so important. So I always tell them, don't think that, like, if you haven't taken a class with labor nurse mama, you better be prepared that you're going to be participating. Like, I want to hear from you guys. Like, I want to know what's going on with you. And right then I start infusing my path for them. What's my path? Join me, right? So I'm like, everyone who, like, all of my students and my mamas know that, like, this is not just to come to my class, leave. Like, I want to get to know you. Like, you're becoming a part of my family right now, you know? And I'll say, okay, so tell me who you are. Tell me where you're coming from. Tell me how many babies. What are you having? Are you having a boy or girl? And I'll, you know, I'll say, like, if you don't know, like, that makes me so excited. I wish, like, that's one of my regrets. I wish I would have done that when I was pregnant, but I just couldn't. Like, I'm so controlling in type A. And then as they're doing that, you know, I'm like, oh, you know, it's Becca and it's her second baby. She's 37 weeks, you guys. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And, like, I go through them as much as I can. Once they start rolling in, then I'll say something. Oh my goodness, you guys, I wish I could, like, say hello to all of you guys, but I'm so glad you're here, but I want to honor your time. And then I go to the next thing. So just showing you how I'm going to do that. So, you know, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm still practicing, you guys, super awkward. So I was sitting there, you guys, staring at a positive pregnancy test. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, this is wrong. Of course, this is wrong. Like, this is not right. It's obviously malfunctioning. I am not pregnant. I was young and I was clearly pregnant with my first baby. I was uneducated, unprepared. I was freaking out inside, like shaking. I would wake up in the middle of the night to go pee, of course, and I would end up laying there, like, with the worst pregnancy insomnia, thinking, how am I going to push a human out of my vagina? And how am I going to take that baby home and care for it? And everything I had planned for my life was suddenly, like, discombobulated. Everything was out of whack. I was scared. I was naive. And I was so obedient. Like, I was a little soldier doing everything I was told. I mean, my doctor was the expert. He went to school. He was, you know, he studied birth. I didn't know anything. He knew everything. Everything he talked to me about was like gibberish. It was like a foreign language. I didn't know what the heck he was saying. He would rush into my appointments, rush out of my appointments. And I looked at him like he was a God figure. And if he said it, then it must be true. And who am I to question it? Even if I had a little voice inside of me, I was like, all right, well, he's a doctor. I'm young. I don't know what I'm doing. I thought he was all knowing, and that, of course, he wanted what was right for me. I was so naive. And he told me, take a hospital class, take this hospital Lamaze class. I had heard of that, so I did it. And I remember walking into that first class, well, waddling into that first class. And I was super excited then they started this slideshow, and it was just filled with all these rules that I needed to know. And all of them lined up with Dr. Malpartita's rules. You know, he told me, when you go into labor, you come right in. And that's what they told me. He said, you can't eat in labor. It's dangerous. And so did they. So obviously it's dangerous. He told me, when it comes to pushing, you're going to push in stirrups, and here's how we're going to do it. And so did they. And all the pictures they showed women with their legs up in, you know, in the leg things. And that's what happened. That's how I pushed. He told me that if he needed more room for the baby, that he would do an episiotomy, and he did. He literally snipped me from one end to the other. I can still hear it in my head. And my birth, from the outside, by all accounts and purposes, was perfect. My baby was healthy. I was alive, mostly whole, mostly. But I left that birth feeling like every single moment happened to me. And no one around me validated me. I remember trying to speak up, and it was like, you need to just be grateful, was basically how I was left feeling. And I felt like I was just a participant in the birth. I did not feel like I was a center of the birth. Does this make sense to you guys? Am I drawing you in? Do you want me to finish?
Same. You're like telling my story. Keep going.
Want me to finish? Okay.
Crazy.
All right.
Yeah. I'm
So
in.
I left my birth feeling like I was just a part of it, and I was just there to do as told. And somewhere after him and before baby number 2, it dawned on me, like, no, this can't be right. And this is before the internet. So I started reading books. I researched everywhere. I talked to women that I met in mom groups. And after weeding out all the stories that sounded just like mine, because the majority of them did, I narrowed down to a birth class that was not sponsored by the system. And my next birth was so empowering and peaceful. None of the twists and turns, no interventions, except for I did let him break my water at the end, because that was all that was holding him back, and I was ready. My voice was heard, and I did not give one little iota about being that patient. And fast forward, after, I had most of my babies, I'm pregnant with number 5. I waddled across the stage, sat down for my nursing boards, and passed, and had her on Monday, and finally became a labor nurse, which was from all that research years before. Like, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I had I'm such a birth nerd and obsessed with birth. And so I become a labor nurse, and I, bought all the cute things. I had the cute OBU clipboard. I had the footprint jacket. And I remember strutting out on the floor thinking, here I am, like, everyone's going to get a birth like I had. And I realized really quickly that unless a mama came in already educated and already knowing her rights, that my hands were tied, and it was hell. And as I got more and more experience, I took my travel jobs on the West Coast, and I saw, wow, birth can actually be more natural and like birth. I got more and more frustrated with watching women being coerced and bullied. And I remember the final straw. And this was a patient, she was in room 201. That's how cemented it is. She was a first-time mom. I admitted her. I was working night shift at the time. She came in labor, actually really in labor. She was so excited. They were the cutest couple. We laughed. We had so much fun. And she loved her provider. She loved her. Now, I knew in my heart that this provider was not patient. And so I was doing everything I could. I stayed with her. She did tell me she took a class, a hospital class. And she was not progressing according to the rules. And I was getting a little more nervous. Me and one of my friends, we were like doing positions, we were helping her. She was going unmedicated. And I educated her as much as I could, which is what I always did. And then somewhere around 3 or 4 a.m., her provider comes in, walks into the room, and sits down with her and just was like, "Oh, patient, we've done so much. You have worked so hard. And, like I'm looking at the strip and I'm watching you and you just haven't made any change in a while. And we don't want to have an emergency situation. And you know how much I want this for you. But at this point, I really think we need to talk about a C-section because we don't want it to be a situation where it's life or death." And she went back to the OR for an unnecessary C-section. And I left that shift and cried in my car. And I decided I had to do something different. And I realized that once you walk into the labor room, if you don't know how to advocate, then your nurse can't advocate for you. Your doula can't advocate for you. It has to be your voice. And I started Labor Nurse Mama. And here we are. How's that work? That pull you in?
Yeah, it's very relatable.
Yeah, and you want it to be, do you notice how I weaved in how I was feeling? I weaved in some of like what I was hearing and this, the details. So I've got like some different things for you guys. Oh, I got a clapping hands from Cassidy, so I feel very accomplished. So the one big thing that I feel like I've learned from this course that I'm taking is to just go into it. Do you guys notice like I was talking and then I just went to, I was sitting there looking at a positive pregnancy test. Everyone in my classes has been there at some point, right? So what did I do? I evoked their emotions as well, because whether you were excited, nervous, not believing it, you've been waiting for it, you didn't expect it, it's evoking an emotion. So right away, because here's the truth, when they are listening to you, they're not thinking really about you, they're thinking about them and how they apply to that story. So as I'm weaving it, my own birth story, I know for a fact that majority of the pregnant women think that their doctor knows best and that their labor nurse is going to have the time to teach them everything they need to know while they're in labor. So I'm addressing those objections and those like the misinformation with my story. But then I go into why I'm an expert in this and how I know for a fact as a mom and as an expert, those things are not true. And I'm also, later in my class, I'm going to talk about 1 out of 10 women end up in the OR for failure to progress. And ACOG even states that a majority of them are us, the staff. So I'm going to talk about that. So I've already planted that in them, that if they don't speak up, that can be their story. I also addressed the thought of, well, if baby's healthy and I'm healthy, then I should be grateful. And Susan, that's not always right. So I'm addressing some of the biggest pain points, but indirectly. Does that make sense? And it pulls them in and it makes me relatable as a mom, but it also establishes my authority as an expert. So even for those of you who are just getting started and maybe you don't have a lot of time or whatever under your belt, you just pivot it somehow of how it's applied to you and what it's done. Because even if I stopped before I became a labor nurse, I still have established the need for education and how that changed my birth, Anybody have any questions at this point?
The Does it matter lengthwise? So should I really be able to have have a story, which I feel like in my heart I do, and it's easy to tell it once I go. But do you where is it a good idea to have a lengthy one versus like a 30-second where you
So I would say if you were doing a Facebook Live or something, it should be a more condensed one. But people are drawn into stories. So even if you did a highlight with your story and have it there, maybe not as lengthy as what you would do in a master class. Because in a master class, you're going to, you want to infuse stories throughout the whole thing. And that's another thing I've learned in this class that I've done somewhat, but definitely out of order in some sense. So after you tell your story, and I've been doing Lord knows, I don't know how I fell on this, but somehow I did it. I started in the last year doing micro commitments. So a lot of you guys have been to my fearless birth experience and you've heard me, and I tell them I start out with the biggest birth mistakes, and I'm like, this week we're going to cover the biggest birth mistakes that I have seen, and tonight we're going to talk about winging your birth. And thinking, oh, I don't need to be educated, someone's going to show me, and just showing it, like thinking I've got plenty of time, and then showing up and freaking out because you're not educated, you don't understand what's going on with you. And I will tell them that. Then I do a testimony of, because I have a lot of second, third time moms who come to me. So I always have them, I have a space where they share their previous birth. They always come to me because of what happened, just like me. And I'll share a piece of that showing someone who winged their birth. Then I show a slide that says, this is what it looks like when you're educated and prepared, because that's the answer to winging your birth. And then I share that. Then I say, okay, here's the deal. I've already told you guys at the beginning that you don't just get to come to one of my classes and sit there. I want you guys to participate. So I want you guys to listen. And if this applies to you, I want you to type me in all caps, like shout it back to me. Who here has been guilty of, and make this applicable to whatever your situation, like for Becca, she could say, who here has been guilty of taking a pain issue or a problem they're having to their provider, and their provider tells them, oh, that's just a normal part of pregnancy, everyone feels it, and they left thinking, I guess this is just normal, I just have to deal with it. If you felt that way, type me in all caps. Then I'll say, here's the deal. And I'm just using Becca, I'm switching it. Here's the deal. There are actually things you can do to get relief now. And I want you guys to commit to me that you're going to take action on some of the things I teach you tonight, because it's not fluff, it's not theory, it's real. From my years of practice as a pelvic floor specialist, as a physical therapist, this is actual real things that you can do. So I want you to commit that you're going to take action tonight. So now type commit. And then they type commit. There's a psychological power in getting micro commitments throughout your workshop, where at the end, they've already said, yes, it's me. Yes, it's me. So when you go into your pitch, which we'll talk about on the next coaching call, and I've talked about some of it to you before, but I do that. I don't know. I mean, it's like one of my friends used to say, even a blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while. I've been doing this naturally for some reason. I was really proud of myself as I'm going through this, but there's been key things, because I have really good conversion, but I want to have better. And there's key little changes that he's recommending. And I do most of that micro committing in the beginning. And he is saying, when you do your 4, you don't want to do more than 3 or 4 points, because then it gets too lengthy. and, you know, especially for us teaching pregnant women, they're going to want to get off or, you know, or postpartum moms, they're busy. You really want to keep it to about an hour, the whole thing. But he said, after each of your points, you're going to want to get another micro commitment, and you're also going to want to do case studies. So for those of you who don't have like students to use, like Becca, you can use patients, just, you know, be like patient number one, like tell them like, I can't, you know, for HIPAA, I can't say their names, but here's a result that relates to that first point that you're teaching. The other thing, and I actually ended up sending him a message because I was like mind blown. I've told you guys before how many times I have women who send me these amazing birth stories and they're like, and I didn't even take your paid class. I just did your free class and it changed everything. And I was like, well, shit, you know, like, yeah, I want you to pay me. And he has this one thing, I'll see if I can find it and maybe give it to you guys. But he's got a red line. And he said, in your workshop, in your webinars, if you're on stage, whatever, you need to stay above the red line. And the red line, below the red line is how and what to do. Above the red line is why. And let me see if I can find it. I think I downloaded it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And I'll give you guys like actual what he says. Let's see, I downloaded the workbook. Let's see if I can, maybe, I don't know. Let me look on this. But it's basically like in your workshop, you only want to give them those, which we've talked about before, the mind shift, you know, like you want to shift their beliefs. And I felt like it was really clarifying for me. I'm seeing if I can find it in this workbook quickly, where he wrote it. I will find it at some point. Oh, shoot. But maybe not now, but I will link to it. But it's basically, you're wanting to stay above that to where and I've told you guys this before, like, how are they going to feel after they apply what you teach them in your courses? What are the mind shift, you know, the shifting that you need to do, which I feel like I've done really good for the most part, but I also give them the how. And I'm revamping all of Fearless Birth, so we'll see how it goes. I hope I don't shoot myself in the foot last minute, but I feel like that's the missing piece. Like I need to pull out a lot of, like, you want to give them some like quick action win, but not all of it, not so that they can have a perfect birth by taking your free experience. You know, like you want them to know like, oh my God, she taught this much in this. And I feel it's about making them feel a certain way. And you want them to feel like, I need more, like I need more of that, you know? And I feel like me and Heather, when we launched my first course, Loving Your Labor, I feel like we did that more then. And then somehow I drifted into giving them more tools, you know? And my sales have been similar, but at the amount that my audience has grown, it should be way higher than similar. So, anybody have any questions on that?
I guess it goes along with branding, which we'll get into, because I feel like it's so clear, like your message and where you were going with it. That I guess, yeah, no, ignore me.
Paulette, you need Cass in your life.
I know.
I literally sat down with her and we just did all of my branding. And so like now that Trish is talking, and she's talked about this before. Sorry, you hear my son losing his mind. Trish, you jinxed me. I lost my train of thought.
You sat down and talked about it. Branding.
Yeah, and so now that you're saying all this, I'm like, oh well, here's my story, which I've kind of skipped over my story when I do masterclass, but like that is like the why I'm doing this. Like that's the biggest
And it makes you real and relatable. Hold on one second.
So I think Colette, once you like get your like, and maybe you can do it yourself. I could not. And even when Cass was like, "Hey, what's your story?" I was like, "I don't have one." And she laughed. She goes, "That's what everyone says, but just wait." And like within like 2 minutes, she's like, "Here's your story." And so it's really helpful to even just bounce that off with somebody.
I feel like I exude my story, and maybe it goes along with just being a bedside nurse. Like I'm like in front of them, teaching them just like Trish, and you're just like, oh, your hands are tied, like you said, and you just want to do more, do more. So I said, of course, nurses are going to, start seeing right through that. And we have more information now as well. We're learning with social media. So you can understand why nurses want to start having the ability to teach, and not just nurses, but physical therapists, because you guys see them, too late afterwards. You're like, why can't I just teach you before you
I'm
even
in
have
a meeting.
so-
Julie, I'm muting you.
Oh,
We're all mamas here.
Oh, that's your story? Julie, that was very relatable. Oh, that was it. That was her story. I get it. I'll buy what you're selling.
Yeah, it's really important. Your why is so important, your story, and not just that one. When you're sharing like those patient wins, or, once you have testimonies from your things, or in your story for your points. So if you don't have testimonies, the points you're making, like, I mean, we've got Casey who has had a baby and had to deal with postpartum sex. So she has stories, and when you're doing, so what he said was, when you're doing your first point, then you do a case study and in a story manner. People love stories, and psychologically they want to hear the ending of it. And so again, and this is going to be hard for me. It was super awkward and hard for me to do it with you guys just a minute ago, to just start telling the story without giving you like, okay, so I'm going to show you guys now what I'm going to do. It was really hard.
It's
So
great.
I'm gonna have to figure that out, and I'm gonna practice over the weekend. But you don't want to, he said, do not announce the story. Start with a part and draw them in. So like with Casey, you could tell like your story of why you're doing this. And like, let's just say you were like, okay, I'm so glad you guys are here. Tell me like how far along you are, or how many weeks postpartum, and you're welcome. And then you're going to go, the first time that my husband tried to put his penis inside of me after my baby, I screamed. You know what I mean? Like, and they're all like, wait, what just happened? You know what I mean? Like, obviously it doesn't have to be like that, but you draw them in. Or like, with those of us, like, with you, Colette, you can be, let's just say your story, you're like, you start out, my first baby I had young, I got pregnant, no problem, didn't have a problem at all. Fast forward, and you start telling your infertility journey, like, if you're pivoting that way. Or for Julie, who has, this all the same type of thing, like she, like, instead of announcing, just be like, when I was trying to get pregnant and it wasn't happening, I was so desperate. I felt like, what is wrong with my body? Like, what is happening? Like, there's got to be something wrong with my body. And I started researching, and I had heard about this little thing, and start talking about the sacral, and the chakra and all of that. Like, but start right in with what you felt that led into why you're doing what you do. And then you finish it up with, and this is why I'm here with you now, you know? this is why I make stupid little videos on Instagram and teach you guys, like this is why Tech Challenged Me does this, so it's really about just flowing. And like Laura, for you, like start with the emotional part of it. Cause I remember when we did your discovery call, like your why is really powerful. You too, Cassidy, like, and it's being vulnerable with it. You have to share what you were feeling. Like there's one story, and this guy, man, right in the middle of teaching, he'll just flow into a story. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, and then he'll go, see, you see how I did that? Like, and one of the stories he was talking about, which was not his signature story, but one of his stories with, I don't even remember the point, but he starts out and he's like, I am the protector of my family. And every night, my wife says, I go into bodyguard mode and I check all the locks. I make sure all the windows are done and, like closed, everybody's good. But I did it so good one time that we tried to get back in the house. And my wife is standing there. My kids are looking at me like, Daddy. And, she's looking at me. I love this man. He's so amazing. And we were locked out of the house. And he goes into it. But like the way he tells it, like we've all felt that way as wives. Like, I love you, but what the hell, And like he just really draws you in. And I was like, I need to figure out that part of that instead of just like reading the story, like telling it like I'm reading it so much, and I would definitely suggest that you write out your story and then practice it out loud, because that was my first mistake. When I wrote my story out, I didn't read it. It sounded great, like reading it, but out loud, it was so awkward. And I had to really pivot while I was teaching. So definitely practice it out loud. You can submit it for Copy Clinic. I'm going to give you guys some key things that you need to have in your story. But you kind of heard what mine was. It was like, what happened to me, what the result of what happened to me was. Then I went into how I fixed what happened to me. Then I go into what I saw as a labor nurse, which brought me to building my business. So mine's a little bit different, but I think each of you are going to have some components of that, Like, I don't know, Becca, if your birth was the reason why you started focusing on pelvic floor. I feel like it was, because I sort of remember that in like our hangouts. Let me let the dog out. Hold on. But like our reels and stuff draw them in and get more attention. But it's those stories and that relatability that will keep them and convert them to sales. So
my story is like, I'll just read it. Became a pelvic floor coach whose career began not unlike many other autonomy advocates in the birth world. After a devastating birth that ended in a C-section, she found herself racked by postpartum and dumbfounded that better preparation hadn't been a part of her plan. When her son was a year old and her feet finally found steady ground.
Stop for a minute. Send me a link to it. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to switch it around. Like that might be a good bio, but that is not a good story. That does not draw us in.
Well, that's like me reading it to you. That's not like me reading.
I know, but I'm gonna switch it around, because I don't like, if you can send me a link, I'm gonna help you, because you want to start with the situation.
Can I send a link? How do I do that?
Is it a Google Doc? If you can share it, like where I can read it. Like I 100% know that you need to start with your birth part and what happened and how you felt about it. So you want to start with like the situation, then you're going to move into the challenge of the situation, like I did. I told you, here I am, I'm pregnant, first baby. I'm naive, I'm trusting. My challenge was I was up against a system that I believed was all knowing and would tell me everything to do. The next thing is the desire. Like, what did you really want for your birth, Becca? Like when you were pregnant with your first baby, like what did you really want? You know, because your pelvic floor stuff is not only for pain, it's positioning, it's all of those things, you know, and you can kind of pull that in there. They might be there for pain, but they're going to find out that pelvic floor can also cause breech babies. And, you know, like not knowing how to work with your pelvic floor is the problem. Were you able to send it, or where did you send it?
It's in your Slack. It's just
Okay.
like a direct message
Let me go there.
to you.
All right, I'm just, oh, it says I need access. I just requested access. I feel like and this was hard for me at the beginning, to take away clinician me, nurse me, talking to an admission, and be a friend and a sister and relatable. And like, I'm just like you at one point. Let's see if it works now. Okay, I got it. So let's see. So as a bio, that's fine how you have it. But for your story, this is not going to compel anyone as far as a story. So you need a lot more detail. So where I would do is, you know, like, I'm so glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. My first birth ended in a C-section. I was devastated. I did not know what to do in postpartum. I did not prepare for having this pain, not being able to take care of myself, and I had to take care of a human. And I 100% did not think like I was going to be that person that had a C-section. I know you well enough because you're super fit, super healthy. I know you felt this way, and I know you. I felt like my body like didn't work. Like, what the heck happened? Like, is my body even capable of having a vaginal delivery? So when I found out, well, okay, so I'm looking at your story. When that baby was around a year old, I started serving in my community as a pelvic floor clinician. And funny enough, I found out 2 months later that I was pregnant. And even though I had so much fear in me, I now had knowledge of how my body worked, and I had seen the power of it with my clients. I had seen these amazing stories and outcomes, and I knew that I had the tools now to change this birth story. Do you see how I drew you in the first time? Like, you want to relate to them. How are they feeling? Like, you know, obviously a lot of yours are coming with pain. So if you did have some like pain issues that your, you know, pelvic floor work, you know, helped with that. You know, and I would say like this time around, I educated myself. And I did key movements with my pelvic floor that I knew were going to make all the difference. I knew it because I had seen it with my own eyes, you know, and then go into your birth story and be real. Like, you know, leading up to the birth, like I still had these like fears and doubts. Like, am I going to be able to have this vaginal delivery? But this time I went in with tools. I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. And I used it, you know, like, but you need to draw them in with that pregnancy part that led you to what you're doing. Because I remember when we talked and you said, like, I really think I'm going to focus on this, you know? And that is compelling. I would not, and you definitely want to, you know, again, this is a perfect bio. Like, you know, if you're guest speaking or doing whatever, but for your story, it is not, that's not a good story. Like, you need to start with the actual feelings and things that led you to saying, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to focus on pelvic floor because I don't want anyone else to feel how I felt. And I don't want anyone else to be told, oh, it's normal. I think that's one of your power parts, you know, because we all know it. That's what they say. Everything's normal, you know? And then as you end it, you talk about like, as I'm watching like these patients and these huge transformations and like these huge successes and these, you know, patients who would come into the clinic barely able to walk, leaving, feeling less pain or no pain at all. I was like, I need to teach other women because I damn well know that doctors are not referring them and insurance companies are not always covering, you know? Like, and you want to just get emotional, like, and passionate about it so that they feel it. Yeah, exactly. So one of you, I wouldn't necessarily maybe wait for her for one of your testimony, you know, your case studies in there.
When do you do case study? I probably missed this and I'll probably have to just, if you already went over it, you don't have to because
No,
my
I
son
don't
was
care.
being crazy.
So this is something I am changing this time. Well, okay, let me just say that again. I do have them. I started a couple fearless birth experience ago, weaving them in throughout the whole thing. But this guy is very like, you need to be very, he said the case studies and stories are, that's what draws them into joining you. And he said, so you do your point and your point then leads into a case study example, right? So for me, let's say my point is, I'm trying to think of a specific one. Let's say my point is you can actually change your pain threshold before you step into the labor room. And then I tell them, how do you do that? Right? Then you and your thumbs up, Colette. You just did one again. I don't know how she does it. I've tried everything to do it. Can't do it. Anyway, after I tell them that, then I can show one of my student testimonies who says, oh my God, Trish, like when I came to you, I was so afraid of labor. And after taking your classes, you're not going to believe it. Like I got to the hospital at 8 centimeters and I couldn't believe it. Like, how in the heck am I 8 centimeters? So that shows like it's mindset, you know? And so that proves to them by a real mama that what I said is, again, and remember I started out by saying like, everything I'm going to teach you guys tonight is not fluff or theory. This is actual, real, proven things that can help you. You know, I'm going to try to get like an outline. Like, obviously, I can't just give you guys this guy's material, but I'm going to give you what I already do and the changes I'm making. And I've already told you guys, if anybody wants access to any of my master classes, I mean, they definitely are working. I have a really good conversion rate. You guys can always watch them. This dog is so needy. All right, let's see if my children now come that the office door is open. There's the dogs. But so one of the things he also said is, I'm trying to remember how he said it. And I've already kind of told you guys, like, you want to have, you know, 5 points max. I would say 3 to 4 is good for time. And so that you don't give away too much. But you do your point, which is belief shifting, not giving the how. So I'm not, when I tell them, like, you can actually change, this is hard for me because I haven't revamped it yet. So I probably say too much how, but what I say is you can change, I explain to them exactly what pain threshold, pain tolerance, how you can bring, why am I so blurry? How you can bring the pain threshold up. The pain doesn't change. It's how you perceive the pain. And I talk all about that. And then I'm like, and you can do this by taking an evidence-based birth class like mine. That's infusion. I'm telling them the beginning, with my first point, like you can take an evidence-based birth class. You have an educated support partner. You have a birth plan, even though everyone's going to tell you you don't need one, you do. And, I walk them through the different ways, but I don't tell them all the information they need for those ways. I don't know why I'm so blurry. What happened? I must be wiggling too much. Okay. I don't know. Sorry, guys. Not sure what to do. Any of my tech people? Is that better? There we go. Anybody else have a question? I want to make sure. I don't think I had a ton of questions in here for the call per se. Let me
Can we
look.
just do like a quick rehash of what we just talked about?
Yeah.
So introduce yourself, whatever. Your story is first. You get them drawn in. And then you
So
go into
not necessarily, like I've given you guys the order before. Do you remember when we did that? So I found out
yes,
today.
I have. I'm
Okay.
trying to see how I changed mine from what you're saying now.
Are you telling your story at the beginning now?
No, so it's exactly what you sent before.
Okay.
So
So
it's
you
like,
should have the story in there from before. You can keep it at the same point.
okay,
The only difference is don't tell them you're going to tell them a story.
yeah,
And I don't even know, I haven't looked at his actual slides and what he does to see if he has a slide that says my story or has a picture of him or what have you. So I'll let you know about that because I'm not sure about that. But you still want to do like the welcome and stuff. So you still want to, like the title of the class, like tonight we're going to be talking about flipping your fear into excitement, blah, 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 whatever. And then the next one I think is now, if you guys stay to the end, I have a gift for you because I want to honor your time. And I know y'all are pregnant and you're tired. So thank you for being here. At the end of the class, I'm going to give you a keyword. If you shoot it over on Instagram, we're going to send you a free Instagram or Facebook. We're going to send you a free gift. That's what we do now. It's really awesome for getting them engaged. Then from there, the next thing I say is, okay, you guys grab your worksheets, or you could say, grab a pen and paper, because I'm going to give you guys some really amazing content tonight. And you could even say then, and I think this is pretty much the same order I've given you. So I think from there, then one thing that I took out from which I used to do, but I added in the third trimester class I did was, and he says to do this in a kind of a different format, is you tell them who the class is not for and who the class is for, right? So you're going to say no-brainer things like, I'm going to do Becca. Here's the deal, you guys, like everything I'm going to teach you tonight is actual practice that I do in my clinic. This is what I do with my patients. This is not theory or fluff. This is real, whatever you call it, exercise, whatever. This is real, answers to pregnancy pain that you guys are able to utilize. But this class is not for you if you just want to think it's normal and you don't want to do anything to make it better. Duh, they're there. They want that, This class is not for you if you're the type of person who just listens to your doctor and doesn't try to do extra things to help yourself. I'm just making these up, Becca. You know these better than me. So you go through 3 of those. Then you say, this class is for you if you're sick of feeling pain, if you're sick of trying to get off the couch and having pain in your crotch or whatever it is they're experiencing. This class is for you if you want to have concrete, tangible things that you can do to help yourself. So you go through like 3, and I used to do this. I didn't do that. It's not for you. I used to only do, and I say, you're in the right place if you're ready to take control of your birth. You're in the right place if you don't want to be an innocent bystander who is told what to do every step of the way. You're in the right place if you don't want to leave your birth feeling regret and what ifs. So that's what I've always done. But I took it out like a year or so ago, but I'm putting it back in now. I put it back in for the 3rd trimester workshop I did a month ago. But he took it a little step further and said, say this is not for you, but make it like no-brainers. Like, like for his, he says something like, this is not for you if you don't want to increase your conversions at the end of your master class, your webinar. Well, yeah, we all want to do that. We all want to increase our conversion. So this is for me. So you're internally saying, oh my God, I'm not that person. I want to do those things, So you still go through that same format, Becca. And I always when do you teach next?
Sunday.
So I wouldn't overwhelm yourself because what I've taught you works, but I would change your story and add that in, and just make sure you go through it and you're not giving them too much how. They need to be at the end of it, like, how do I make this better?
I'm definitely giving them too much how.
No, I struggle with the same.
Definitely.
So there's 2 things that will decrease your sales: giving them too much how and making them confused. And I've done both. Like, you don't want to have a bunch of different choices at the end. You want to have one choice, narrow them in. You can have choices after they join you, but you want to give them, that's why I say 1 offer, 1 platform, 1 year. Figure it out, nail it. At the end of that year, if you have nailed it and you have insanely good sales, then you can pivot and try to start adding in other offers. That's what Julie and I were talking about today, because she has a much different, hers is a product based, but I still think her golden ticket is her padsicles, Let me see. I want to get to some of these questions. Where is Darby? I think they're out of town. I should know.
With her grandparents.
Oh yeah, this is my son and my future daughter-in-law. I should know these things. Yay, she's had more client interviews. I love it. Let's see what Colette said. High conversion website and workshop. So we're talking about that. For your sales page or website, again, simplicity and having simple funnels that only direct them to one thing. We kind of talked about that today. So when you have your sales page, you don't want read the blog, check out this, check out that. There should be no menu at the top. It should all lead to that one offer. And I think Funnel Gorgeous's templates are really good at showing you how to do that. Really good at that. And then your pictures on your website, be really cautious on using stock images, because you'll see the same birth ones specifically on everybody's. So if I ever use one for Canva, I'll scroll down till I'm down at Yahoo, because I know everyone else is just going to pick the top ones. Also Adobe, stock images, you can get a subscription there's another birth photo subscription called Lim and June. I'll put the link in there. They have some good ones. It's a little more catered to doulas. But there's, as long as you are an active member, you can like move the pictures around and change them. But if you stop your membership, you can keep them on your sales pages, but you can't move them around. It has to stay exactly where it was. You know, does that make sense? Like you can't keep using them in new content or whatever. It can stay where you've already used it, but so the best platform to host your webinars, this is the ever rotating question. The most economical and easy to use in the beginning for me was Demio. Becca, how are you liking Demio?
Super easy.
Yeah.
And every time I quit using it, they offer you a free month. So
Yes,
now I have
that's what I used to do. I would drop it in between.
$259 a month. I quit it because I'm like, I'm not going to do another one for X amount of time. And it was like, do you want a free month? And I'm like, sure. And then I was like, did it give me like my full like 259 or did it drop me down to like the basic? And it kept me at my full 259. So I'm like, I'm doing another class. And so here I am. And that's why I'm doing another one.
Yeah. So, and when I started Demio, it was in COVID and I'm a homeschooling mom and because like everything was going to that type of platform, I got like a homeschooling discount, which was, I think if I went back, I probably still would have that on there. But, I will say that my favorite is Easy Webinar, I think. I like it. One thing I don't like about Demio, and I'm trying to remember the exact details, is that when the replay goes out, I don't think the sales link pops up when you like when you're in doing the demonstration or the masterclass.
You have
Where
to include it. You
like
have to like change everything and include it.
in the replay.
Yeah, like you can edit all the videos and stuff if you pay for it. And so like I edited like Cass and I were talking about it. So I went through and edited all the videos. So now like the link for my sales page is in there now.
Okay, so that's new. They used to not do that at all. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I left them. I had no idea that was happening. Whereas with Easy Webinar, it's Webinar Jam and Easy Webinar, they're combined. So Webinar Jam is their live one and Easy Webinar is their evergreen. So once you've done it live, you can move it over and same thing, you can edit it or whatever, but all of the polls, the quizzes, the handouts, all of that pop up at the time that you did it. But the really simple thing to do is do it on Zoom when you first get started because it's free. And there's also a level of intimacy on Zoom. You know, make sure you set your settings where they are muted when they come in. So you don't have moms yelling at their kids or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, that's the simple and free option, or lower cost option. Let's see. So I do have, I showed you in Searchy, I have where we've talked about the outline of the workshop. And again, you're also welcome to like I can share some of my replays or whatever. Let's see. All right, so I don't. Tula. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All right, when more followers than I know what to do with. So monetizing it, there's a science to that and nurturing it. And I think when you get this masterclass nailed down, but I also think that you need to have a call to action in some of these viral videos that says like, comment pain and I'll send you a link to my blah, blah, blah class, which breaks down exactly what you need to do to get relief now.
All of my, everything I post has a call to action on it. Like everything.
To buy the class.
To
Or the
like
master class.
some of it's like a free guide. Since the master class isn't offered all the time, I don't like when they do
But
comment.
what
like,
about your course?
I've had that too, but that doesn't do anything. I
I'm
think
gonna-
I just need like wording or something because
Yeah. I want to go through it. I was sharing with Colette. I think I don't even remember. We started to talk about it. I submitted my call to actions for, let me see if I can find it, for the coaching for my low cost like digital course, which I need to get you guys all in there. It's stuff we've talked about it, but it's in a very succinct, like orderly fashion. So I'll give you guys a link to join it for free. But I had the copy clinic from my master class or my mastermind do it, and she kind of shortened them. So like for this, my passive profits lab, I had comment lab or I don't know why I had it and if you want to learn exactly how I've made almost $1 million with digital products, this is my exact strategy and how I continue to scale each month. Way too long. So she cut out the and now I'm just putting comment lab if you want to learn exactly how I've made almost $1 million with digital products. So very short. So like for you, I would say, comment pelvis, comment pain, if you want to learn exactly what to do to get relief today. That's what I would say, something like that. Cass, do you have a suggestion on that?
And then what do you say like with the messages? Like this is my course or something or
So funny that you asked because I just edited some of mine. Let me go into mini chat and you guys can always comment and like copy what I've done on some of mine. Let me see if I can find it. I've not been as like, we are definitely pivoting to where I am selling the class more in reels than I ever have. I've never really done that. I've always mostly sold during launches. Or, oh my God, dog. My dog was literally inside of my purse digging for something. She's her whole body in the purse. What are you doing? Let me find this if I can find it. Hold on. I'll tell you, I'll just copy it and paste it in here. See if I have it. Okay, so mine, when they comment, the next one says, hey there, it looks like you're ready to create a side hustle that gives you passive income. Just tap the button below to read more. So for you, I would say something like, hey there, or however you talk. It looks like you're ready to get rid of that pregnancy pain and blah. Like, Cass, help me here a little bit. Maybe. Just tap the button below to read more info. And then you send them to your sales page. You're not collecting, Cassidy said, I'm not good under pressure. You're not collecting their information so much. You're just getting them to that sales page.
okay, so call to action is like if you I don't do well under pressure either. Something like if
I would
you're
do
ready,
pain.
if
Like
you're ready to
that.
get rid of pain.
So I would say comment pain if you're ready to take action and get rid of your pregnancy pain today. Because yeah, she said comment pain if you're ready to kick it to the curb. I don't know if I'd be that cutesy. I think I would be a little more direct. Like that might be good for like on a reel.
Well, that's great because everyone comments pain, and so my mini chat just sends them whatever it is for pain, which right now is a free guide to managing pain. So it'd be great if it was like a purchase instead of a free guide, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's one thing that's a little newer for me than when reel, like I've been making reels since they started in 2021 and people weren't selling. It was all for entertainment and to grow your audience. But I think that a lot of people are used to buying things from reels now. So I think it is worth trying, like make it simple, especially if you have a product that's under $100. I think, if you have a product that's pricier, you need a lot more nurturing, but they're seeing your growth and they're seeing like all these people commenting, so that gives you authority, you know. I would consider, especially is yours like time-based or is it on demand?
It's all their own access and stuff.
If
But
you
it's,
if you haven't boosted your posts at all, go back to your most viral ones and change the call to action and try it out.
I'll do that.
And I mean, it's not like it can hurt, you know. If they you do you know how to do like an exit intent pop-up or something, like where if they're exiting your page, they get like an offer or a pop-up? So I know I use opt-in monster, which is another cost, and I don't want you to add a cost. I'm sure there's a plugin. So all you need to search is exit intent pop-up for WordPress. So if you go to Labor Nurse Mama right now, we have a pop-up signing up for Fearless Birth. So if you go there, you'll see it. But instead of it looking like that, on my sales pages, what I have, I mean, I don't have it on right now, but on occasion I do it, is it knows when you're exiting the page and it'll pop up like a coupon or an offer. So what you could do is like pop up and say, hey, I see you're not ready to join my class, but here's a free guide to help you out. That gets them onto your email and then you can nurture them more, you know?
Yeah, because when they go to your sales page, they don't go to your email.
No,
So,
unless
and-
they buy. So
yeah,
you're gonna be testing that out.
can you say what I'm looking up for that?
Exit intent, intent, INTENT pop up for WordPress. I'm sure there's got to be an app. I mean, whatever they're called. Let me get back in the questions because I want to make sure they're all. I think I did. Like, you guys don't have many questions.
I need help with mini chat on Facebook.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Mackenzie if she will come in and teach a workshop for you guys. I mean, my mini chat is literally insane. Like I've told you guys, it looks like the genealogy of Christ in there. Like it is like everywhere. My one for Trish Ware coaching is very simple, but I have made some mistakes. So I've had her go in and kind of help me. But what's your problem with it?
It doesn't work on Facebook.
Have you Googled?
I have, and everything's turned on. And then I tried this other app to like connect everything.
Okay, so let me show you. Let me go into mini chat and I'll share my screen. Again, it's insane in here, but we'll see what she's done. So I know you have to actually give it the command separately for Facebook. You know that, right? It's not the same command. So let's look at Fearless Birth because we've got that one going right now. So let me find it. So can you see how user comments and it's got the Instagram one? This is a separate one and you can see it's a Facebook one. So when you're setting them up, you have to make sure that it's a Facebook one. So right here, we've got user comments, these specific words, however these people might do, and that is specifically any post on Facebook. And then that sends them into I told you it just gets worse. That sends them in here where we have all the different triggers for Fearless Birth. But you have to make sure that trigger, does yours have that little Facebook symbol?
Nope. So I need to go figure that out.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Hold on. So if you're setting up your new automation, And hey, let's see, they've changed this somewhat. Instagram. I'm assuming redirect customers, use Facebook. So I'm just going to say, let's just start from scratch. And your trigger is going to be in Messenger, user comments on post. I always do any post and then set it up the exact same way you do the Instagram one. Just like that. Now, I will tell you, like, one thing that I've learned from Mackenzie, oh, I better get rid of that because she's going to be like, what is she doing in there? Oh God, did I just delete something that I shouldn't have deleted? I hope not. Okay. Anywho, I'm getting out of this. I really hope I didn't delete something. Let's go to the trash. What did I just do? Okay, so it's not done anything. So I'm good. Whew. I got scared. She would kill me. One thing she does, so let's say here we've got they start on, why can't I move that? Let me edit this. I'm not going to mess with it. So you see how you want to always start it out with like, hey, mama, we saw you left a comment with Haka. Here's the link. Use the coupon. Now I'm sending them to a link on this one. Again, I'm not collecting their information. But when you collect their information, I'm trying to see where she's done it so you can see it. When they do it, I would recommend your first message to them, like saying something like, hey, I saw you left a comment on my post requesting my pain guide. If you're ready to grab it, click here. When they click there, then that is an Instagram response. Then they're going to go to the one that says, okay, tell me your first name, drop your email. But that first one is them acknowledging that they did ask for you to send them an automation. And that is keeping you out of trouble. Does that make sense? So you'll notice if you ever comment on someone's, let me find if I can show you that here. I don't have a lot of automations over here, but I'll show you. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. These are much easier so I just did this one. So that's going to a link. Hold on. I'm talking about when you're getting, oh, by the way, Mackenzie was like, don't ever use start as a keyword, because that is part of ManyChat's like opt-in, opt-out flows. And so start and stop will start and end their like ability to get messages from you. Does that make sense? Kind of like when you get text messaging and you write back all in caps, stop. It stops the flow. So she said, don't use those. Anyway, let me show you one. Hold on. Trying to remember one that I've done recently. I want to say this one I did. Yeah. So, hey there, I saw you left a comment to grab my guide to making money. Tap the button below to get your guide. So they tap here and that leads them over to here to this one, which is where I say perfect. So they've basically confirmed that I have a right to be auto botting, whatever you want to call it, but sending them messages because there are compliance rules. Now, Instagram is not as fluffy about it, but Facebook has a lot of rules. So you want to make sure that you have permission to send them these automated messages. So when they confirm, yeah, I did say I wanted that guide, so let me click here to get it. Well, they're not actually getting it. They're going to your next step, which is collecting their private information. So, you say, if you do like a flow through like one of like where they set it up, they should have you doing it that way. But Mackenzie actually like is a super user with ManyChat. Like they have her speak at their conferences and stuff. So she's really up on the rules. Like when I first hired her, I was doing it all wrong. So you want to make sure, like I can probably have her come and do like one of the coaching calls and give you guys some tips on simple automations and making sure that you're compliant. You know, most of our people are not gonna like cause a problem. But when you start like having audience in the UK and the, you know, the EU, they have a lot of rules, a lot, like with emails, like you have to, like, that's why we have all those like cookie opt-ins on our websites. Like you need to have that where they're choosing either yes, you can do cookies or no, because the EU will freaking nail your butt if you're not. So if you don't have, it's called, oh my God, what is it called? It's an opt-in. Let me see. I can't think of what it's called right now. Yeah, GDPR is what it's called. And you can set it where it only shows visitors from the UK or from the European Union. But you definitely want to have that. It's the same thing for emails. You can set it to where people from the European Union have like that extra like, yes, I am agreeing to getting your emails, that extra opt-in. But it's the same thing with ManyChat. So like it's kind of telling you that, but I have a free one through WordPress, Becca, that I use. You just turn it on. And it's just like, you know, that thing that you click on websites that say I accept or deny or whatever. It's basically tracking, I think, is what that is. All right. I am going to have to get off here in just a few minutes. Anybody have any questions before we get off?
Do you have anything, well, you don't do a lot of one-on-one anyway, but do you have any, I know you have your medical disclaimer, but do you have anything else?
No.
I'm looking at doing a one-on-one, but I want to have protection.
I mean, you could always start. Are you recording it? Like, do they get a recording?
No, but I guess I could do that.
You could always do that, but you could also have a terms and condition when they buy it that leads to them having to, you know, click like, I understand, even though she, you know what I say, even though I'm a pelvic floor specialist, I'm not your pelvic floor specialist. So I'm basically giving you education based on the information that I've learned over the course of my career, but I'm not your clinician, you know.
So after speaking to a lawyer, and like the laws in Michigan, I'm not even using like therapy specialist, therapist, clinician. I've switched everything to like coach, like
Got it.
pelvic floor coach.
Are you able to say that you do it in real life?
I think so, but I can't, like, I need to be careful about
I mean, that's
like
the same for me. I don't say,
advertising.
like, I'm your registered nurse.
Yeah.
I say online childbirth educator who has 16 years of experience as a labor and delivery nurse. But I do tell them that, you know, I don't actually do my medical disclaimer in my workshops anymore. I start out my courses because, again, I'm not giving them the how.
Yeah.
You know, I'm giving them mindset strategies, which anybody can give, you know.
Yeah. So do I not give them anything during the class, like any stretches or anything? I just literally change everything because I was giving them like 2 things that would make them feel good.
I mean, I think 2 things, if you're teaching a lot more than that, I think 2 wins are fine. I haven't gotten through, again, I'll try to get through his slides tomorrow because I'm trying to revamp mine before I go to Boston on Thursday. And I'll tell you what he says about that. I might post in his Facebook group and be like, you know, I'm not teaching people how to make money. I'm teaching them how to have like an empowered birth. Do I teach them any tools? or, like, or if I teach them, like, because I do a couple labor pain coping tools. And I mean, my class is called 3 labor pain coping tools for day 5. I'm not taking that out because it's the title,
Yeah.
my tool. What I say is, at the end, I'm like, okay, you guys, like, how do you feel? Like, how do you feel? Like, because I do an exercise with them and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, that was amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, okay, that's just 3 of like 20 tools I teach you inside of my birth classes. So you
That's a
could,
good point.
yeah, you could do something.
I don't ever say like how many that there are. And so that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah, I would say that. Like, this is just 2 of the many practical tools that I give you to relieve various pregnancy and postpartum pain or whatever it is, But you definitely want to minimize the tools, but let them know there's a whole bunch more. The other thing that he said is to use the word just. So I told you before, you're going to value stack like that, where you show the value of what they're getting. And I don't know if I'm going to do this or how I'm going to do this. He got this from Russell Bronson, which is like the ClickFunnels guy. And he does like this one thing. But what he said is like, okay, so for mine, I've got the course value and it's the value that is. So like my course value is like $9.97. Bonus 1, the value is like $197. Bonus 2, the value is $197. Like go through them. The total value is $29.97. But of course, I am not going to ask you to pay that. You can get all of this tonight for just, and he said, use that word, just. And the other thing he said that I've never done, and I'm going to try this, is lead with the payment plan. So if you have a payment plan, now I feel like we don't necessarily have to do that with lower costs. Like once I start taking more clients, right now I'm not taking more coaching clients, but once I do, and we're talking about a $4,400 thing or whatever it'll be, instead of saying for just 4,400, I could say for just $397 a month or whatever the payment plan, you can start blah, 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 or for just, let's say you do 2 or 3 payment plans. I don't know. For us, we have, I think, 4 payment plans of 53 or something. I don't remember what the sale ones, but let's just say it's that. For just $53, you can start empowering yourself and have the birth of your dreams. Now, when they go to the sales page, they're going to see if they pay the full price, they're going to get blah, blah, blah. And it's less because I add on, they pay extra if they do payments because it costs us, processing fees each time. So we kind of sat down, like it's kind of fluffed up, but the truth is it's very much worth that. So maybe even think about like, what does a visit cost them out of pocket or insurance value, stuff like that. So you definitely like, it's really hard for us as like, especially going from clinician to be like, oh, it's worth $9.97. But truthfully, what is the value of getting relief from pregnancy pain? Like I'm sitting here, my back's like, I tweaked my back like almost a month ago and I'm hurting right now. If you gave me something that gave me relief, like that was another thing he said, you can say like, what is having a pain-free pregnancy worth to you? Like that's a good hook for you for a reel, honestly. Like how much would you pay to not be in pain while you're pregnant? For the girls who are in pain, they're like, oh my God, I'd give my right leg right now. Because when you're in pain, like we talked about this on your first coaching calls, like the difference between being a pain pill and a vitamin, when you are relieving like this, I have a good friend who is freaking making millions with her sleep course, right? Well, that's because parents who aren't getting sleep are desperate. They're going to pay for help, right? You know, they are desperate. And hers actually is geared towards toddler sleep, not baby sleep, toddler sleep. Like,
I
I think-
almost paid someone. I almost paid somebody.
right.
Like
Because
2 weeks ago, I almost paid somebody.
you're desperate and you're tired. And I mean, she has an evergreen masterclass. She doesn't do all the stuff I do. She just she does spend like 20K a month on ads, but she didn't at first. So, but she is making a killing because her people know they have a problem and they want help. Whereas with us with birth, I think you have a leg up on this. But for us who are teaching birth, people don't know that they really need birth education. Like they don't realize it until it's later. Like it's a lot easier to sell to someone who's already had a bad birth experience. You know, like for cats, like people know if they suck at copywriting and they need help. Hey, guys, stop. My gosh, my dog is insane. She's this big and she is going after my pit bull. Hey, I want you guys to see this. Hold on. She is literally, can you see that she's on top of her, attacking her? Like, Tula, you're 4 pounds. If she decides you're done, you're done. Anyway, I think for you, you have a leg up, Becca, because if they're in pain, they want relief. So we just have to figure out your selling part of it, like transitioning into the offer. Have you watched my classes to see how I do it?
Not recently.
I would do
I'm
it again.
excited. I'm putting in my 4 weeks tomorrow. And I'm getting a different job. I'm not home full time, but I'm getting a different job because I have no time.
Yeah, I mean, I quit my job like I still was planning on taking travel assignments, but I quit in July of 2019 and went all in online. July of 2019. Now I didn't start making money until the following, but you know a lot more than I did at this point. Like I was doing this all blindly. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. If I had known what I know now, I probably could have started making money in December. You know, I didn't know how to create, all the questions you've had. I didn't know any of that. And I had no one to ask. And you can only Google so much. And half the time when you Google, you just land on a sales page for someone and you really don't know still what you're doing. But if I had known sooner, I would have probably started making sales a lot sooner, probably in December.
So when I transition from like, just because I need to wrap my head around this because, and sorry to everybody who's like, we've nailed this on the head a million times. But making the transition from, like the welcoming, the you're in the right place, then like telling your story without saying you're telling your story. And then going into like the points with the client that goes with your point, and then into,
I'm just taking you into mine. Does that work?
yes. Yes.
Okay.
And then,
So now I am changing this up, but
okay.
let's kind of walk through it. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm only changing some. Like I have to find out what he does for this. You know,
Okay.
maybe he just has a picture. I don't know. So I start with this, with the title, but I don't actually read it. He said do that, but I've never done that. It's on the screen as I'm welcoming them. You know what, actually, let me go to the 3rd trimester because I changed that one up a little. Let me find it. Hold on. I feel like that might be a little, is that the one? Nope, that's an old one. Hold on. Let me go back. I need to find the new one. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, let me show you this one because I feel like this is a little clearer. So, and I'm adding a little of what I did, but I start here, go to the welcome. I do an about me, but I'm going to look at what he says. I'm not sure if he does that, because honestly, in my story, I could weave in like after 16 years as a labor and delivery nurse, knowing that my patients were being, you know what I mean? I could weave it in there. I don't know. I need
I
to
was
see.
gonna like share my story on my About Me page.
Okay, so
Would that be like accessible or
no,
acceptable?
I wouldn't do that yet. I would
Okay.
do it in the order. So then you go to, this is where I say you're in the right place. And I literally have it on here and I say it. If you're motivated to learn how to conquer the fear of the pain of labor, blah, 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 go to that. I go into 3 of them. And then I told you I was already doing some of the stuff that he says. Somehow I must have somehow learned from people who learned from him at some point in some ways. But I'd say this, remember tonight, like I don't read it word for word, but I like what I'm going to teach you guys is not theory or fluff. This is from 16 years as a labor and delivery nurse and from my own births of my babies. And this is exactly what, and now I'm infusion selling here because I'm telling them I have something for them. Because a lot of people who come to these free classes have no idea that you're going to sell something at the end, you know? This is exactly what thousands of L&M mamas and my many patients have used to have to have, oh, that doesn't even make sense. Oh, nice. Good. This is why you read stuff out before you actually go live. Then you want to go to your goal. So for your goal, like, see right here, what I say is we're going to go deep into the most important strategies you need to embrace labor and be excited instead of fearful. So for your goal is like, what is your goal for these women? Your goal is that I'm going to teach you how you can take control and stop believing that it's normal to feel pain and actually know what to do to relieve the pain. You're not going to tell them, my goal tonight is to teach you how to relieve the pain. Your goal is to teach them that they're able to learn how to take away that pain. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because if you tell them you're going to teach them and then you don't, they're going to be like, well, that was bullshit. So the next thing I have here, now this is different, right? I'm not going to do this what I'm going to do here. So I have my story here. I have to figure out where to put my story and I'll let you know because I'm working on this tomorrow. But I have a testimony here, right? One of my students. And then this is where I say stay. Oh, yeah. This is where I say stay to the end and I have a gift for you. Then I go into, I know you, like I have a whole script that I say, but I'm like, you guys feel anxious. I get it. I was there. You're laying in bed thinking, oh my God, like I am in my 3rd trimester. The baby's coming out of me. What if I can't do it? And then, I go to, and you feel unprepared because like, no matter what you do, everyone's telling you different. The random lady at the grocery store is telling you what to do, which doesn't line up with what your mom says to do. Your doctor's telling you nothing. You feel confused because you're like, I know my body is powerful. I know that I built this baby, but why is everybody telling me that I really don't have any choices and it doesn't matter if I have a birth plan? Does that make sense what I'm doing? So like you kind of go through like, how are they feeling about that? And then I tell them what they want to feel. And I can send you the link to this if you want to look at it more in depth. You want to feel empowered. You want to be an integral part. So for yours, like you want to feel good. You don't want to wake up hurting. You don't want to go to bed hurting. You don't want to have to try to get off the couch in a, like without your joints falling apart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like talk to them about, what they want because your patients have told you. Just put that in some kind of form like that, right? And that's when I go into my story. So I don't know if this is the right order for my story. I'll let you know. But what I would do here now that I've learned, normally I would go, let me tell you guys my story. But now what I would do is say, you know, you want to breathe life and energy and excitement into your birth. Now, again, I'll tell you, I remember I was sitting there in my bathroom looking at a positive pregnancy test, blah, blah, go into that. So that's how he recommends doing it. And this guy is insanely profitable doing what he's doing. Then I go into my secret number one, right? After that, so my secret number one, this is all about mindset. Then I say to them, so I told you I was doing some things right, because right here, I'll go, okay, tell me if this is you. Like, have you ever thought this? Birth is scary. Can't handle it. Birth is so painful. Like, it's a woman out of control, pulling her hair, gripping the bed. The doctors won't listen. Why plan? It's unpredictable. Don't have a birth plan. Like, have you felt like any of these things? If any of this is relatable, type me. So I did start kind of doing this last month, and I didn't have a lot of turnout because we really didn't do much promoting for it, but I had a very high conversion rate for who I had come to it, if that makes sense. If we had done a little more planning, I think it would have, done well. And then I go through that, and then I've got another testimony, and then there's my commitment. So I did, and then I do a little trick with the mindset. Then I have another story. Then I've got secret number two. This is where I think I'm giving them too much, making it too complicated, but I'll let you know again once I go through his format. Then I have another commitment after that one. So like, I think what I said was, okay, if you have been like not taking a class, not educating yourself, just Googling, now it's time to stop winging it and be committed to getting evidence-based education and taking control of your birth. If you're ready to commit to that, type commit. So I did start doing a micro commitment each time. And then this is my last one. I do again a story. Here's how. Do you see again, I'm not actually telling them like the tools. I'm just saying you have to have them. Then I'm committing, okay, I've just told you, here's how to, understand birth and understand the skills you need. You can't just show up and expect your nurse to show you. What if she's got 2 patients? What if, it's crazy? So if you're committed to filling up your labor tool bag, type commit. So I had them doing it throughout. Now here's where I transitioned to sales. But one thing I used to do, and he said you should do, is you should have like a review page right here where you say, okay, you guys, tonight we found out the power of mindset, and go through the 3 points, like as of like a recap. And then what I do is I go, if you don't know your options, you don't have any. And that is scary. And then I go into next steps. And then this is where I did, this is not for you and this is for you. But I think the way I understood it, he does it sooner, but I'll let you know about that too. But again, I don't know, because your conversion rate wasn't great. So maybe you need to like say, honey, take the kids and spend Saturday revamping it and adding some more, again, it's also going to be your deliverance, like your body language, your voice, how you're inflicting your voice, how confident you feel. Like fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Like, and the other thing, Becca, is that what you're going to teach them is going to change their pregnancy. You're not selling to them. You're solving a real problem. So like if you have any hesitations with sales, get that get that out of your mind. Like you are giving them an insane value
Yeah.
for, so
Do you have like a sales page on here?
no, I'll show you what I get to, and I'm going to link this to you because as soon as my husband pulls up, I got to get off this call.
Okay.
So I go through this, like, and you could say something like, you were only pregnant with this baby one time, and you don't want to look back and be like, oh my God, I was miserable and I could have done something about it. Like I could have relieved that pain. You don't have to deal with it for the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks. You can get relief now. And then I go here and I say this on everyone, like every one of my classes, because I truly believe this. Like, I believe that things do not happen for a coincidence. Like, it's not a mistake. You're here for a reason. And I believe the reason is you belong with us, And then I have a couple more testimonies. I don't read them word for word. I kind of highlight them. And then you go into, let me show you what you're going to get if you enroll today. Now, again, I will show you what I change it to tomorrow if it's much different. I feel like it's not going to be huge. Then I go here and I walk through this, I don't tell them any of this. I let them read that. I say, Calm Labor Confident Birth class. It's for a first-time mom, a fourth-time mom, whether you're having a home birth, a hospital birth, a birth center birth, or any kind of birth. We also have the VBAC lab. If you don't know what VBAC means, then it's not for you. If you do, keep in mind that we also have a birth class that's totally for our VBAC mamas. Then I go to, we have a module all about pregnancy decisions. And remember, I told you, you don't want to tell them what they're going to get in it. Like, don't be practical. You're going to tell them how they're going to feel after doing that module. So if your module 1 is like, I don't know, whatever it is, but I say this, imagine that you're holding your baby and that you knew what decisions to make. You made informed choices. This module is going to help you navigate those choices with confidence, empowering you to say yes to what feels right for you and to advocate for your desires because you matter, and I kind of improvise and add. And this one's talking about like, and I do have like a testimony. I don't necessarily read them, but I have them here that highlights that. So while I'm talking, they might be reading some of those. I probably should like narrow them. And when I first started, Becca, I would use just DMs I got where someone's like, oh my God, that thing you taught was incredible. You can do that. It's not a problem. So I go through the modules, telling them like how they're going to feel, what it's going to do for them. I took that out before, but he did say that was important. So I kind of added it. Then you go through the bonuses and you want to really play up the bonuses. And right now for this one, I was not giving them big bonuses. It was actually what they're going to get anyway. I just called it bonuses, which is, it is a huge bonus, a weekly Zoom coaching and hangout, so I go through those. And then this one was a fast action, like they had 30 minutes to buy it for 50% off. Then here's where I do the value stacking and tell them, oh, he just pulled up, what they get. Okay. And then I kind of go through that. And then if they're staying on for a Q&A, I put this up. And one thing I took out that I'm going to put back in is and he was like, you need to have this, is common questions. So I know the most common questions, like, can I do this on my own time, or is this, timed? So like, how do I, when will I have access? How long will I have access? What happens if I don't, you know what I mean? Like common questions that maybe even you had for mine. And he said, do about 5 to 10 questions. You don't let them ask you, you just put up the common questions. I used to do this. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to see if I can find an old, let me see if I can find an old, like back in the day workshop. Okay, so it might be in here because this is from Loving Your Labor. We used to do this at the end of ours and we stopped doing it because we learned from Amy Porterfield, who apparently learned from him. Let me see, it doesn't have it in there. I thought I had it. I know the name of that class just because I was telling. Is that the one I just pulled up? Let me see if that's the one I just pulled up. Because we used to do the Q&A at the end. I don't know when we took it out. I'm determined now. Hold on before he walks in. Hold on. So you can kind of see. Did we do? God, that's 99 pages. Surely to God, it's in there. It's a lot of pages. I definitely don't have it set up like that anymore. Sorry, let me, oh, you know what? I actually think those are actually slides from the Loving Your Labor course. That's the problem. Let me see if I can find from a webinar. I'm gonna have to go back. We have so much crap. I really hate that Canva doesn't have a better system to organize stuff. All right, so there's that. So that was I'm gonna find it. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'll show you let me stop sharing this and then we'll end this, but let me share what's in here because I was pulling up my old Demio things for, I think this one will, hold on, let me share my screen again and I'll fast forward to it, but this was in the beginning, did not have my skills refined. So let me go to the end and see if it's on this one. We used to do it. I know we did. I'm determined right now.
Or does he still like say do the questions at the end? Just put up the common ones for them to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And we used to do it, but I don't know. I'll see if I can find it. But again, I'm redoing mine tomorrow. That's my plan to redo workshop 1
Okay.
in his format. And I'll tell you what he said. I would share like the content that I got from that class, but I feel kind of shady doing that.
That's
But
okay.
I don't feel bad sharing what I create. You know what I mean?
No, if you don't mind sharing that, I'm gonna work on that.
Not at all. I'm going to share with you right now. I'll share in the Slack. Let me go to channels. I'm going to go, I guess, to marketing, and I'll share my slides from the 3rd trimester because most of that is kind of what he's saying. I'm just not sure about the order of it, but
Okay.
I don't mind you guys using whatever I have in whatever way. So I just shared that in there, but as soon as I finish the other one, I'll share that. I think I'm going to try, what I'm going to do is make a template for myself to use for further workshops. So you're more than welcome to use that.
Okay. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I would go in there and change some of those call to actions and just see if
Yeah,
if that increases your sales.
Should I change that now or should I wait until the class is over and then change it? Because right now I'm getting them all into my class.
I would go back and change. Are the old ones bringing them into the class too? Then I
Yeah.
would wait. I would wait.
Okay. Okay.
But I would consider like with the eyes you're getting on that content, just I used to only open the cart for launches.
Yeah.
And my ad guy was like, people are pregnant now. They might not be by the time you open your cart.
Yeah.
I think with yours, like right now, if I got marketed to for a quick low back pain relief, like do these 5 exercises and they were like, it's $47, I'd be like, give it to me right now, So I feel like with your pain situation, there doesn't need as much nurturing as we do for like birth classes or what have you.
Yeah.
And next time you're not launching when I am, you should promote the birth classes as well. I feel like you're
Yeah.
gonna get you're gonna get, I mean, when I first started, I made like that is how I made money before I launched my own, was through affiliates. I did Lactation Link and I did oh God, what's the name of her birth class? It actually is kind of a sucky birth class. I feel terrible. I can't remember the name of it, but I made affiliate money from that until I, started mine. But I do that with affiliates for breastfeeding and,
Yeah.
I want to do one with you when I'm in between launches.
Yeah.
too. And
Let's
I
do
want
it.
to, yeah, what I'm probably going to do is remix some of your reels and then put my affiliate link call to action in there.
Okay.
Same thing, and see how that does. But I don't like to promote too much at once.
That's fine. Nope.
All right. I'll see you guys.
Have a good night. Thanks so much.
Too. Bye.